welcome back to the channel, and you join me under the Nissan. Now, when the car went for MOT this year, the MOT man said that the sump was going porous, and I think that's a bit of an understatement, to be honest. When you look at the state of it, you can see here masses of rust. It's generally quite wet across the sump, and you can see where the oil is now transferring down the car. Now, it's not leaking on the driveway yet, but I can't think that it's going to be long before it is. So today's project is to replace the sump pan. Now, it's not very big, and access looks pretty good. It's just a set of bolts all around this pan, and it should lift down. The plug for getting the oil out is here, so we're going to drop the oil and we'll do an oil change and filter change at the same time. Seems silly not to. And then we'll put the new pan on and fill it back up with oil. First job is to get organised with tools, etc., and see what size these nuts are, and then we'll come back to that and show you taking that off. Okay, so first job I usually do is to look at the sump that you've bought, and believe it or not, this came from eBay, because most of the major part suppliers want over £100 for this small piece of pressed steel. Make sure it matches the one that's on the car, because once you've got it off, it's then a right pain if you bought the wrong one. So first job is to drop the oil. That's this nut here, 14mm this one, and good idea to buy one of these oil catch tank things. These are fantastically expensive, and then you can take the oil to the local tip. Make sure on these that you take out not only the hole where the oil's going to go, but this one as well. I've learnt in the past that if you don't take out the second one, this one will fill up and then throw oil everywhere as the air tries to get out. So remember to take off both, and think about where the oil is going to go when it comes out of here. It's not going to drop straight down, it's going to come out in kind of an arc, so you have to kind of predict where it's going to be. So push it a bit further forward and get ready to catch it. So I'm going to turn the camera off, undo this and drain the oil, and then we'll come back to what we're doing. Okay, so the oil's all out now. I've put the plug back in just to stop it dripping, and I've done a bit of research on these bolts. These are 10mm, it's in the 10mm socket to get these off. This is part of the wheel liner on the driver's side, and it does kind of block the access, but I don't really want to go to all the hassle of taking the wheel liner out. You can move this out of the way enough to get to the nuts, so I'm going to do that, and then kind of slide the sump in that way, because it's quite flat here. Now, while we're doing the oil change, it makes sense to change the oil filter, which Nissan, have lovely people, have put it up there. Yeah, always a pain, horizontal oil filters, because that's going to be full of oil now. So I'm going to have to undo that and then put the oil catch can back underneath to catch all the oil that's going to dribble all the way down the side of the engine, which I'll have to wipe off afterwards, but hey ho. So next job, unwind that, take it off, clean up the oil, and then we'll put the new oil filter on. Well, that didn't go very well at all, to be honest. I've got the new filter on. The old one, unfortunately I've only got a big oil filter wrench, so I can't get it to fit around that one, so I had to go the old method of bashing a screwdriver through it to give some leverage to undo it. I'm always amazed by, even if you put these on hand tight, which I put that one on and only put it on hand tight, when you come to take them off, you have to put some real effort. So whether they tighten with vibration over time, I don't know, but that was a bit of a battle. And obviously, with it being in such a silly place, right at the back of the engine, limited sort of space to get to it, and it's full of oil, so, and you're underneath it to be able to undo it, so you can't really have the oil catch thing here where you're laid, so it's a bit of a faff and there's oil everywhere, but I'll have to clean it up afterwards. So that's on, and now it's undoing the nuts and taking the sump off. Right, so what you're going to find is all the nuts are out now, sorry, all the bolts are out of the sump, but it ain't going anywhere. It's well and truly stuck on there with the gasket or sealant that Nissan used to put it on, so I'm going to have to get a pry bar or a big screwdriver and just crack this flange to be able to get it off. Now I've just stopped to show you this. Look at this. The damage I'm having to inflict on this to get it off is unbelievable. It is now kind of loose, and I can hear the sealant cracking now, so I'm probably going to be able to get this off, but getting that first bit off is a real struggle. So I used a big screwdriver and then progressed to using an old chisel that I don't mind ruining, because I thought that was a bit thinner and easier to get in, and you just have to lever it without trying to damage this face. You really don't want to mark this if you can help it. You're going to have to clean all the crap off this that's on it. There's quite a lot of old sealant and gasket on here which we're going to have to get rid of. So at least I've got this off. So I'll take this off and then we'll clean all the surface up. Okie dokie, so I've gone around all this face with a sharp chisel and got all the old sealant off, and it was sealant, there is no gasket. I don't know if you can see from the old pan, there's just this like grey smear of sealant, RTV style sealant around the bottom. So we'll need to do the same. That's what comes with the new one. The filter here on the old pickup is nice and clean, there's no bits of metal stuck to anything like that. This weird thing here, that's the dipstick. So next job is to prep the new sump pan for going on, and I'll show you how we do that, because we've got to be aware of these holes, because think of where the oil's going to be. You don't want to do the sealant on the outside really, you want to do it on the inside, because otherwise it's going to go up that hole and out around the nut. So we'll do that next, and then we'll get the new pan back in and bolt it up. Right, so here's the new sump pan. I've taken the plug out and put it back in again. What I've found in the past is these are probably done up by a machine or like someone with a windy gun, and they're incredibly tight, so I don't want the first time I have to take it out to be me struggling under the car trying to get it undone. This is the tube of sealant that comes with it. This is RTV or something similar, and what we need to do is put a bead of this. I'm going to fill these channels, and I'm going to go on the inside of all the holes, down there on the inside of the hole, because that's protecting the oil from going down that hole, down the thread of the bolt and out underneath the bolt and dripping on your driveway. So we go all the way around, just a single bead as neat as you can, and on the inside of all these holes. So I'll do that, and then I'll address it to the sump and put some of the bolts in, and will join me there. Right, so I thought I'd show you this before I put it on. You can see I've got a bead and it's on the inside of all the holes. I decided not to go in these lines because I'm just worried that there won't be enough to mate up to the surface. So I've just gone around the inside and avoided all the holes. Now I like to leave this for 20 minutes or so to get a bit of a skin on it, because then it almost acts like a rubber gasket, if you see what I mean. If this is slightly set when you put it in, I think personally it makes a better seal, and when I've done it this way I've never had one leak, even on cars that were notorious for leaking. So I'm going to give this 10 or 15 minutes, then I'll push it up onto the bottom of the engine and we'll get all the bolts in, and I'm not going to nip it up immediately. I'll give it another 10 minutes and then I'll nip it up. Right, ready to put the sump back on. There is, about where my finger is here, behind the oil pickup, there's like a little metal tab, and there's another one on this side. So I'm assuming these are like locator tabs for when you put it on, you can kind of judge where it needs to be. So I need to get that flat end under here, because as I say I don't want to take this off. Put the flat end under, get against them two locator tabs, and try not to move it around too much, because we want that bead to be solid against this face. And then we'll put the bolts in loosely, and then a bit later on we'll nip these up, and then it's fill the car with oil, check for leaks, and that should be it. Although I have noticed that this is loose, so I'll have to fix this while I'm down here. That's the new sump on. That went on relatively easy, to be honest. I was quite surprised. Using these tabs really helped, and I pushed the flat end in under the cover, rested it against the two tabs, and I've got all the bolts in, but they're only hand tight. I'm going to give it 10 minutes while I tidy up and have a look at this exhaust cover that's a bit loose, and then I'll nip these up a bit tighter, and then we can put some oil in. Right, the nuts are all tightened up now. I honestly don't know the torque spec for these, but these weren't very tight when I took them off, and they were fitted by Nissan. This is the original sump pan we've taken off. So I've done these up, so you kind of nip them and then just give them a little sort of quarter turn, half turn. I mean, this is solidly on. I certainly think it's good enough to stop the oil coming out, but we'll find out in a minute. So I'm going to fill it with oil. We'll have a look around, see if there are any leaks, and then we can put the car down and top it up properly. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I've filled the car up with oil. It's not leaking, all seems great. Looking at the old sump, inside it honestly doesn't look that bad, but it's obviously leaking, so it was a good job that we changed it. It's already starting to drip underneath the side, underneath the car. That would have only got worse and possibly would have failed catastrophically and dumped all the oil on the ground while someone was out in the car. So well worth doing and not expensive and not exactly hard to do, to be fair. If you've got an oil catcher and some basic sockets, this is a pretty easy job. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, subscribe, ding the bell, all that stuff they tell you to do. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.